Welcome back to Techno Eclipse, and in today's video we're going to discuss whether you should buy a laptop or desktop for your computer solution. There are three stark differences between a desktop and a laptop. One is portability, the second is power versus price, and the third is upgradability. When looking at a laptop, you get a portable machine that's not quite as powerful as its desktop counterpart, but it also has no upgradability in most cases. The desktop is totally different. It's way more powerful for the money you pay. It's also way more upgradable. However, it's impossible to transport a desktop because of how big it is. Laptops in recent years have become less and less upgradable the thinner and lighter they get. When you look at the Surface and the new MacBook Pros, the only thing you can upgrade on the MacBooks are the storage, and on a Surface you can't upgrade anything. Everything is soldered to the motherboard, and that's a problem for somebody like me or somebody who likes to tinker with like gadgets and stuff like that. They want to upgrade, they want to make their product that they bought better and better as the years go on, and with these new MacBooks and new Surface laptops, you can't do that. In the case of a desktop, they're endlessly upgradable. If you look at the one behind me, I can upgrade the power supply, I can upgrade the motherboard, I can upgrade the CPU, I can upgrade the RAM, I can upgrade the storage, I can upgrade the case, I can even add RGBs, I can add other fans and stuff like that. You can endlessly upgrade this. But when you're looking at that compared to a laptop, this I can't take anywhere. This thing weighs 20-30 pounds. If you look at this Mac, it weighs almost 50. But when you look at the laptop, it weighs 3 or 4. I can put that in a backpack. There are some workarounds with upgrading a laptop though. In the case of the new MacBook Pros, you have Thunderbolt 3, which is 40 gigabits per second. And what that means is you can plug in an external graphics card and upgrade the graphics on your machine to input and output much more powerful graphics. You can actually turn your MacBook into a little bit of a gaming computer if you spend an extra $600, $700, or $800 getting a graphics card and an eGPU setup. And that's going to be more expensive, and to get better bandwidth you're going to want to have an external monitor, again another $200, $300, $400. So when you factor that in, you're looking at an extra $1,000 to turn your MacBook into like a gaming system. However, when you compare this eGPU setup to a desktop computer, it's way more expensive to set up the eGPU setup. Mainly because when you buy a new graphics card, you only have to put it into the PCI by 16 slot on your motherboard. But when you buy, the eGPU and the monitor, it costs much more money. But let's break down the exact parts of a laptop compared to a desktop. When you buy a laptop, you get a monitor, you get a keyboard, you get a mouse, you get speakers, you get Wi-Fi, you get Bluetooth. All things that cost extra when you build a computer such as this. I had to buy this monitor, I had to buy this mouse, I had to buy that keyboard. It's all extra stuff, including the CPU, RAM, motherboard. You got to buy all of that stuff together. When you buy a laptop, you buy one thing and that's it. So let's say you have $1,500 to spend on something and you want to get a computer. So you want to get a MacBook, okay? So you go look at online at apple.com and you see what $1,500 can get you. And it's the base model MacBook Pro with Touch Bar. It's got a 7th generation Intel Core i5 processor. It's got 8 gigabytes of RAM. It's got 256 gigabytes of storage, and it's got 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports. That's great. But the display is also 2K. You get a great trackpad. You get great speakers, you get Wi-Fi, you get Bluetooth, and you get a keyboard. If you take that money and build a computer, you can build a much more powerful computer, but you don't get all of those extra parts. That is the kind of thing you need to factor in when buying a whole computer setup. So if you look at this setup right here, you're going to see a Ryzen 1600X. You're going to see a GTX 1060 6GB version. You're going to see 16 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM. You're going to see an M.2 storage solution of 250 gigabytes. You're going to see a powerful power supply. You're going to get all the peripherals and stuff. You're going to get a 2K monitor. And that runs you about $1,400, which is $100 less than the MacBook. And in that case, you get an actual gaming computer. You don't need an eGPU setup. You get the monitor, you get the keyboard, you get the mouse, you get the Bluetooth, you get the Wi-Fi, you get all that stuff, and that's $100 less than the MacBook. However, in this case of a computer similar to this, like I said earlier, it's 20-30 pounds. You can't put this into a backpack. I can take a $1,500 MacBook that's way underpowered, and you can put that in your backpack and go to school, go to work, whatever you want to do with it. And so I've always had the opinion that laptops are by definition overpriced and underpowered just because of the laptop parts and the way they have to cool. Now for most people, that system is overkill. Most people don't need to play a lot of games at 4K at 60 frames per second. Most people just need to edit the occasional video, maybe play the occasional game, browse the web, browse technoeclipse.com, browse email, and watch the occasional YouTube video. So in the case of that computer, I don't think you should buy that computer ever. It's too much for most people, unless you're trying to build the type of gaming computer that can play a lot of high-end games at high frames per second at a high resolution. What I would suggest is getting both. Getting the portability with the power. Build a $1,000 gaming desktop and also buy a $500 used MacBook or Chromebook. Because if you need to get into this computer, you can use any cloud service such as Google's Docs, Google's Photos, any other type of cloud service to get access to the documents that you have. And with the portability of the Chromebook or MacBook, you also can take your files anywhere. You can use a remote connection to get back into that computer. You can do a lot of things, and then when you get home, you have the power of your desktop computer. If your budget isn't $1,500 big and it's a lot smaller than that, I would suggest looking on Craigslist and just building a desktop, because you're going to get a much more powerful machine with much longer longevity and way more upgradability than a laptop. Laptops will last 3, 4, 5 years, but they have a lifespan. A computer doesn't. Once that chip starts to slow down, just buy a new one. Buy an upgraded one. Buy a new motherboard, buy new RAM, buy that stuff. You can just piece by piece upgrade your computer, as opposed to a laptop. When you're done with it, you're just sort of done with it. You can't upgrade it. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll leave links to everything in the description below. Don't forget to check out my website, technoeclipse.com. I write about all kinds of stuff like this. I just wrote about this yesterday. I post 4 times a week, normally around noonish, maybe a little bit later in the day depending on what I'm doing, but I always try to get something out at least 4 times a week. And I'll see you in the next one.